Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Leadership newspaper. Subsidy removal. Tinubu will mitigate hardship, Labour assures Nigerians. And some riders here explains suspension of planned strike, decries abuse of ex parte motion by courts, as Airpeace slams NLC TUC with 1.7 billion naira suit over flight disruptions. All the details on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. We move now to the front page of the First News newspaper. I'll have removed subsidy, not Tinubu's way. Peter B speaking. I'll have removed subsidy, not Tinubu's way. You find the story on the front page of the First News newspaper, and a quick rider here says federal government should have put palliatives in place before taking decision. You find the details of the story on the front page of the First News newspaper. To the Daily Trust now. Subsidy removal. Artisans, business owners accuse NLC TUC of selling out. Artisans, business owners accuse NLC TUC of selling out. And some riders here, CSOs knock unions, want other Nigerians covered. Why we suspended strike, Labour is speaking. And another rider here, fear of business loss looms, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is speaking there. All right, to the blueprint now. Sirika Hired Aircraft from Ethiopia as Nigeria Air, MD speaking. Nigeria Air MD speaking. Sirika Hired Aircraft from Ethiopia as Nigeria Air MD speaking, and says nation yet to meet NCA criteria for license, exercise of fraud, reps declare. All the details on the front page of the blueprint. And on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper, still towing the same line, Nigeria Air is huge scam, National Assembly declares. Nigeria Air is huge scam, National Assembly declares. Some riders orders immediate suspension of all operations, urges Tinubu to constitute high-level committee to undertake holistic review. Aviation Ministry, it was only unveiled, not launched. You find all the details on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. Kemi.
Nigerian News Direct is also reporting on the House of Representatives investigation into the Nigeria Air launch. It calls it the 14.6 billion naira launch of fraud. Aircraft being Nigeria Air logo chartered from Ethiopian airline. That's according to an official. Details are there in the Nigerian News Direct. Nature News is focusing on the World Environment Day, urging companies in Nigeria on payment of plastic tax. AFDB determined to fight pollution, legislation required for success, and youth urged to be in fight against plastic pollution. On the front page of The Nation, Tinubu in crucial talks over Senate President Speaker. Of course, the tussle is still intense. President Tinubu said to be in crucial talks there over the emergence of a new Senate President and Speaker. The Daily Sun is next, still on the leadership of the National Assembly. That's the 10th National Assembly. Akpabio's bid faces hiccups, it says, as senators-elect withdraw support. That's on the Daily Sun. And finally is The Punch, leading with this report on subsidies, saying reps demand NNPCL audit over unaccounted 2 trillion naira assets. That's on The Punch. Veronica.
All right, let's look at this story, talking about the Nigeria Air saga, if I may call it as such, where the House of Representatives Committee on Aviation had an investigative hearing on the controversial launch of the Nigeria Air. And present at that conversation was the managing director of Nigeria Air. And the reps concluded that this was a scam at the end of the day. And they called it a fraud, as is being reported. And they ordered immediate suspension of operations of the flight, Nigeria Air. And then they urged the president to constitute a high-level committee to look into the matter. And even before now, the matter has been in court, especially with regards to Ethiopia's involvement, the percentage that Ethiopia has in the shares with regards to Nigeria Air, I think about 49% of it. And Nigeria is said to have just a little within either 5–10% or so. And that became a matter for a majority of aviation workers who say that, who took the matter to the courts. And so the House of Representatives, the committee, is saying that the matter is still in court and shouldn't have even been launched or unveiled in the first place, even though the Aviation Ministry is saying that it was only unveiled, not launched. I wonder what the difference is, because to me it's just semantics. Anyway,
that's exactly what the House Committee also stressed, that it's semantics is just a play on words. In fact, going as far as warning the official from not confusing it with English language. But the decision by the committee saying that the entire proceeding, the entire process of chartering, so to speak, the aircraft is fraudulent, and it hinged its position on the fact that even they themselves were not carried along. Critical stakeholders as well were also not carried along, and the stakeholders who were there at the investigative hearing were also asked, what do you know about the bid? What do you know about the entire process? And they said they knew nothing. And of course, it happened at the twilight of the Buhari administration, so that there was this feeling of the entire process being hasty, not well thought out. And when you look at the enormous monies that were expended for this, and one could understand the position of the government, or of the House of Representatives, and of course, you know, the part you mentioned is also critical. 3 court orders have already been issued on the matter, in a suit instituted by the aviation airline operators of Nigeria, and that much was also stressed why they still had to go on. But then there was argument from the other side, from the federal government, saying it didn't affect what they did, that the orders were for something else, for another issue entirely. So it is, you know, a very serious matter that has dire implications if not well managed. And now the onus is on the Tinubu administration to help us make some sense out of, you know, the entire process, and calling for prosecution if indeed it is found that Nigerians should change a probe, a review, yes, and ultimately prosecution if it is found that a case has been made against whoever.
Well, the minister, it's not whoever. It's the minister
won't be just him
at the time, because he was the one, you know, at the helm of affairs at the time. So he is the face of whatever is going on as we speak, because he was always, he said that, he insisted that, you know, there was going to be, Nigeria Air was going to launch before the end of the Buhari administration, even though aviation workers as well as aviation operators or airline operators insisted that he should not go ahead with it, that he knows there is a case in court. And it seemed like he turned deaf ears to what they were saying. And it was like, I would do what I want to do. Yes, Nigerians have been raising an eyebrow with regards to this matter of Nigeria Air. Recall when we brought out the logo, and certain amounts was said to have been spent to design the logo, and Nigerians were going, what is this? Why are we spending so much with regards to having a national carrier? Is it essential we even have a national carrier as we speak? Do we have the monies to push through to have a national carrier? And we saw the way the aviation minister at the time went about it. And it seemed that he was ready to just cut corners from the statements that we're getting. Certain certifications have not been gotten. And it is reported that he tried to meet certain persons and they refused to ensure. They said that the airline, the operations must meet certain standards for them to get the certification to give them a nod for operations. And he just boycotted all of that to unveil or launch the airline. And these are the issues. It has to be critically reviewed such that whoever needs to be brought to book, he has to be called to question as it is right now. We have spent so much. 14.6 billion is a lot. He has to answer some questions.
It will be, like, as expected. It's expected to be a holistic review. It will not just, of course, the buck lies on him being the minister at the time, but it will eventually, the bracket, or how does EFCC say it now, the spotlight is going to be beyond him.
Absolutely.
Obviously, he is in the eye of the storm, even though he has, of course, penned down. He's off, so to speak. Now we're expecting a new leadership in that sector, in that ministry. But eventually, he will have to come answer, and I'm sure it will not just, I expect it to not just be only him. So many things have been said for and against this entire controversy, and we hope that it will be as open as we speak. For now, it still remains to be seen, what they did wrong. But from the face of it, the fact that many people that should have been in the know are now feigning
and not
saying
that is something that was done wrong.
That's enough. That alone is also something that that will have to be taken into account at this time. So we hope that the investigation is normal in Nigeria for people to call for investigation and for some probe to be conducted. And at the end of the day, perhaps not much may be seen to be done. But we hope that this time around, the person has
will not be swept under the carpet.
Right. That this time around, we hope things will be much different.
And that we will be able to hold persons to account. Because 14.6 billion is a huge, huge amount that can turn things around for the average Nigerian. We are just talking about the removal of fuel subsidy, how we are looking to cushion the effect. And if we say we have spent that amount on having a national carrier, and yet there are not answers to certain questions, there has to be some level of accountability moving forward. All right, coming up on TVC Breakfast.